It's just after 1 o'clock. Good afternoon, everybody. You're now on Business Unusual. Eyes off. I'm Thabo Mduli standing in today. It's Job Seekers Wednesday, and job seeking in itself is quite a journey. Now, on this show, we've outlined how to develop a proper CV, what to do when you've been called for that all-important job interview, and now we want to lay it out for you how you should behave once you've got that job. The experts are in to take you through on how you should conduct yourself in the workplace and what you should and shouldn't do. But of course, what also you should do with that first salary, right? And we've got all that coming up, plus your top business stories. But first, let's check what is leading this hour in your news. The public protector, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, says a report that claims she has a financial link with the Gupta family is nothing more than a smear campaign. Acting eThekwini Mayor Fawzia Peer has promised the people of Durban that she will not let the municipality be placed under administration. Now, the trial of alleged sex trafficker and church pastor Timothy Omotoso has been adjourned to tomorrow as Judge Skuman is set to rule on an application by the defense. Also, in a bid to help save the endangered white rhino species, a baby rhino conceived through artificial insemination has been born. All right, then let's continue with your reporting now. Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane will not be responding in public to President Cyril Ramaphosa's legal counsel asking her to back off in her legal challenges against him or risk the possibility of a cost order against her office. Her spokesperson, Opa Sekgalo, explains.
The Public Protector does not really want to comment publicly on that matter because it is before court. She will be making arguments in that particular matter tomorrow. But it is important to stress the point that we will not be threatened with cost orders. This office must do what it ought to do. And people must understand that when matters go to court like this, it's not in vain. The whole idea is to, clarify the law so that where there are ambiguities, we are able to address them. We do feel that the Public Protector is being attacked from all angles, especially from political circles, from civil society, especially donor-funded civil society organizations, as well as their allies in certain quarters of the media. And unfortunately for them, the Public Protector is not going to be deterred. She's focused on doing what she was appointed to do, and she will do it, even if it means upsetting very powerful people who may rely on their allies in all of those sectors to come to their defense.
And meanwhile, allegations that the Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane has been flagged by international banking institution HSBC as having financial links to the Gupta family have been rubbished by her spokesperson, Opa Sekgalo. According to a report, a payment of $5,000 was made into Mkhwebane's account in June 2014. Sekgalo says there was nothing untoward in that transaction.
She has not received any money from Guptas. She has said as much. In fact, even if you go to the article itself, it will show that there's no evidence of corruption on the part of the Public Protector. I was looking just now at a set of questions that the authors of that article sent to the Public Protector for comment last week. They clearly say in their own words that there is no indication that she received money from the Guptas. So it is very strange and curious that in their final article they make those insinuations and contradict themselves later on in the article to say there's no evidence of corruption on her part, which begs the question, what is really at play here? Why is it that all of these things are cropping up at the time when the Public Protector has just issued a number of reports that have really set tongues wagging? Someone should ask the question, what is really happening? Why were these things not happening all along? Why now?
Still on the public protector, the governing ANC says the matter of the public protector stepping down has not yet been discussed by the party. This is according to Deputy Secretary General Jesse Duarte. Now, pressure has been mounting for Busisiwe Mkhwebane to vacate the position as the party's alliance partners are calling for a parliamentary inquiry into her fitness to hold office. The DA has called for the inquiry 3 times since Mkhwebane took office in 2016.
We've not discussed that matter at all. We've not taken a view as to whether or not we will ask the public protector to step down. That's been the narrative in the media at the moment. Our concern, our primary focus is that can we allow the law to take its course? Can we allow the issues that are playing itself out in the courts to take root? And when people make submissions, they make submissions in defense of themselves. I think that's natural and normal. And we shouldn't make it sound as if it's an abnormal thing. When the public protector does go to Parliament, we would also wish to hear her side of the story. She has not made publicly available any of the issues that she's, well, she does say a few things, but we would like to be able to understand where her position, what her position is and where she's coming from. I think in all of this, we are still saying that we support the office of the public protector and will continue to do so.
That a higher court may overturn the decision of a lower court. It doesn't mean that there is no confidence in the judge who was sitting in the lower court, because there are many judgments which have been reversed recently, even by the Supreme Court of Appeal, as well as the Constitutional Court. So you can't say if I'm doing my work and something is found against me, therefore I am so-called incompetent.
All right, those are your leading stories this hour here on Zoom Africa Channel 405. Let's get into business unusual now. It's Job Seekers Wednesday, and we are focusing on what you should actually do with your first paycheck. But before we get into that, let's first take a look at some of the top stories in business. Now, news moving the economy today on Wednesday is, of course, Eskom, seemingly running on borrowed time. The power utility announcing yesterday a record loss of 20.7 billion. When it released its integrated financial results for the year ending March 2011. I'm joined now by Saki Zamqaka, Director of Business Development at ZARX. Saki, it's good to have you.
Thank you, Taba.
I mean, when we look at it, it's largely operational. That's what Phakamani Khatebe is telling us. And they've tried, they've fixed a couple of things. We know that Medupi and Kusile are now on a better footing, except for at least 1 or 2 power stations that are still not in operation. Have we seen the worst of it? Is it now behind us?
So for me, I mean, I think over and above the operational issues, the real issue is an economy that's not performing. When people lose jobs, they can't pay their bills to municipalities, they can't pay to Eskom. So all of that adds up into the economy that we're seeing now, which, as we saw in the last GDP results, it was performing negatively. But day to day, you know, whether it's retail figures, we see everything as a result of that. If people had the money, they were able to pay. We would have an Eskom that, yes, may have demand pressures, but at least can pay its bills because it's getting some income.
Yeah, I mean, debt is a big thing. From 390 billion, it's now sitting at, I think, 461, he says. Is this becoming to be a danger for the fiscus?
Of course it is. Of course it is. I mean, it's not only a danger for Eskom that the debt is becoming unsustainable because we pay interest on it, but it's also becoming a threat to our sovereign debt because most of it is guaranteed by government. So government is now flirting with its borrowing limits. So that presents a real problem.
He says even if government was to borrow them 100 billion rands right now, you'll find that in 2021, 2022, they'll be in the same place.
Well, the question is why. So for me, I mean, I wouldn't know all of the operational issues at Eskom, but we understand that, I mean, in some of their capital expenditure programs, they've gone a little higher than what was anticipated. So that's a problem because you're paying for inefficiencies. But if the spending is going to real power generation and there is real demand for it, that should be a good thing for the economy. But for me, as I'm saying, I think the real threat is more on the demand side, that as people aren't getting higher incomes, factories aren't producing more, the demand for electricity is not increasing, and even those who are consuming it are now starting to be under pressure and battling to afford to pay.
Yeah.
So for me...
Not only that, but a large number of them getting off the grid as well. And what was quite significant for me is the fact that he says it's not just the affluent, the elite who are getting off the grid, but it's even the poor in RDP homes that are going on to solar.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it makes sense. We've seen some instabilities on power supply, so naturally people look at alternatives. But again, I mean, it's a real natural human behavior that when your income is shrinking, you start looking at where you can cut expenses. And if you pay a little bit of capex up to reduce your payment on electricity every month, either by having a battery or a solar panel, it's a logical thing to do.
Now, Jabu Mabuza talking about IPPs, saying the price that they're paying for IPPs is part of the problems of what they're dealing with at Eskom. I mean, how are we going to get around the issue of IPPs? Because we do need a mix of electrical supply or electrical or energy generation in the country. I'll let you hold that thought and you'll answer me when we come back from the break. We'll continue with your top business stories after this short break. Stay with us on Business Unusual.